the window had been busted out and part of our gear had been stolen.
There's nowhere to play up here at all.
I'm just going to throw this out there that it almost sounded like you were kind of the dark side sometimes of the scene.
At the end of it, our bass player told us, like, he just looked at us and was like, yeah, this is my last show.
We were debating whether to whip this guy's ass or not.
Welcome, everyone, back to another party edition of Dark Side of the Scene. I'm your host, Brandon, alongside my co-host, Ed.
What's up? Trying to open this beer. Oops. Oh, whatever.
Where's this one from?
Another chocolate porter from Holland, Michigan. Big Lake Brewery. Shout out to them, I guess.
He likes to drink your beverages.
I'd gone.
We're always willing to take some free beverages.
I had my buddy Corey and I, we actually hit it was like kind of like a drinking. It wasn't a bar really. It's just one of those places you casually drink like craft beers, but because that is a good thing up there. And there were some real tasty ones. And I went to Flesh God Apocalypse and Obscura up in Joliet, right? And then I wondered about the show, and it's like, I wonder what shitty things they had to do or face today before the show happened. I wouldn't know, be able to ask them, but made me wonder about that. So, yeah, I don't really have a rant today. What about you?
I've got some that I can pull out of my ass. This
Sweet.
one we talked about the other day, and you posted something on Facebook and tagged me in it, and I think it rings true. So to anyone out there listening, I don't care what gear you play on, but just so you know, if you have a shrine bag, which is a complete dime bag rig.
Oh, the dime bag post. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you think that only people that play on Dean or dime or whatever gear is the only way to play metal, and anyone that plays on like a 7-string or an 8-string are less talented because dime played on a 6, and you think your shrine bag guitar style is the only way that can be played for metal, you're a fucking dipshit.
You shouldn't tune so low. You have that dude, I guess his name's Tosin Abasi. He's a small time guy. He plays an 8th string, but like he sucks, right? Yeah. No, that guy does crazy things that I would never hear. I'm like, that's a guitar, but yeah, those dime bag guys.
They think that only old Dime Time was the best of the best. Well, this might ruffle some feathers, but this is what this show does. My personal take on Dimebag is I thought he was overrated for what he was. Most of his solos are out of key, but we're not going to go there. And a lot of the stuff that they played was just nothing that I was personally a fan of. And if you're a fan of Pantera or Damage Plan or anything that Mr. Dime was involved in, that is completely fine with me because I don't give two shits what someone listens to. But the fact that he's been put up in God tier, mainly after he died, which is pretty fucking metal to go out on stage. I mean, it's a shitty way to go, but I guess if I was going to go and I was doing fucking band shit, I mean, you live on an infamy over that one.
Right. He did what he loved. Unfortunately, everybody that were there had to see that crap. So
yeah,
that sucks ass. But I will say this, like, I liked the Pantera back in the day when I just started playing guitar, which I respect them, but like, yeah, towards the end of the years or more so in his career, like it felt like his playing started going backwards and he just had like okay riffs and wouldn't get his foot off that pitch shifter thing. Whammy pedal. I should know what that is. Duh.
I think a lot of people, and it's not that I don't have a respect for them because yes, they did help bring in the metal that I listen to, but at the same time, I've just never really Like I like Metallica, but I don't necessarily think they're fucking the end all be all. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
same with Slayer. I like some Slayer stuff too, but I don't think they're like fucking gods. I know it's maybe sacrilegious in the metal community, but it is what it is. We're all entitled.
No, because some people are just stuck in that mode. Like, I respect all that stuff, but there's always something new because I get ear fatigue from listening to the same band. I got to hear something else, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
But no, that's my little bit of a rant tonight. It's just more or less I can't stand when other people dog on other people because of what they're choosing to play on. Now, granted, I guess I could be a little elitist sometimes when I see someone coming out thinking they're rocking the fucking world on a Line 6 Spider. I mean, as a new person playing guitar or anything like that, I mean, hey, play what you got to play. It's if you're happy with it, that's awesome. But when I've seen them shit on other people that have better gear because they think their noob stuff is superior,
Mhm.
I mean, all right, dudes, let's tone it down a bit.
Oh, yeah.
Let's
See,
back that up.
See, I'm glad you had the rant today. They're gonna make me think. They're gonna think I'm the asshole ranting all the time.
No, we're both assholes.
Oh, okay, cool. I knew it.
There's good cop, bad cop, and then there's just me and we're not cops at all because we're just assholes. So
It's the buddy cop thing. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
yeah. Well, if nothing else, I guess you're ready to bring this guest in on tonight. But if you would like to be on a guest of these two assholes ranting and raving about music stuff, you can totally do that. Just send an email to Brandon at darksideofthescene.com and we can get you scheduled for a future episode. We are currently booked almost every day for the next month, so that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
But
thank you for those people.
yeah, definitely appreciate all you guys out there wanting to hop on this shit with us. It's very fulfilling to know that we're doing something that hasn't even officially launched yet, and we've gotten quite a bit of support for it. So thank you guys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But we're gonna bring on in our guest tonight. His name is Drew, so we'll do that here in a second. So just sit tight. We're joined tonight by our guest Drew. Drew, thanks for coming on here and talking with Ed and I.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hi, Drew. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Where are you from, Drew?
I'm from Minnesota, specifically like southeastern Minnesota area. Grew up in Northfield and Nurse Strand, and then Winona and Rochester and Byron are all places I've lived, which are places that most people probably have never heard of. So
Is
No,
that what?
No clue.
Is that
Yeah.
why you look like a lumberjack?
that's exactly why. Yeah,
I see now.
it's the only way to survive out here.
Apparently.
Is it cold up that area all the time?
No, not all the time. I mean, it's probably only like I would say prohibitively cold, maybe 3-4 weeks out of the year tops. I guess that's pretty subjective, but like I only get real uncomfortable if it's like below like 10. And that's not most of the winter. It's
Yeah.
been pretty nice here lately. It's like in the high 30s and 40s for the whole week, which is pretty great.
I think we've been having close to 60 the last couple of days. Kind of crazy.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. But it's Indiana. It doesn't. It's like a bipolar person.
Sure.
It's mine.
At 60 today, blizzard tomorrow.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So,
We'll see.
Yeah.
so what type of music do you play? Like instruments, anything like that? Like how you involved with the music scene?
Sure. I play mostly string instruments, so guitar, bass, banjo, mandolin, pedal steel, and I do some piano and some vocal work and stuff like that. Getting into synthesizers real heavily, and I've been involved in music in a working capacity since I was, like probably 13 or so. Started playing when I was 10, and started playing with my family. We actually our dad had us start learning all at the same time and form a just with the siblings, a family band.
Partridge Family.
Exactly. Yes, sir. Yeah, it was that, and it was a lot. Like, we didn't really know anybody who knew how to play. I grew up in a village, technically,
Huh.
and it was like a 270 person village in rural Minnesota. So we didn't really like know anyone who played. We didn't have internet. I mean, we had my dad's like 200 disc CD changer thing that he had set up to his sound system. So to learn, he would just put an album on, and we would listen to it and try to mimic the sounds on the instruments that he assigned us to. And after a little while, we started catching on to stuff. And then like our family vacations stopped being vacations and started being like work trips. Because in order to like stay anywhere, we would have to do like residencies where we'd play, 2-3 hours a night. And that would cover like the room and board wherever we were staying. And yeah, from that point like on, I'm 30 now, and it's been good 17 straight years of working all the time.
Oh, it's like a musical gypsy band, huh?
Actually, determined by the government of Switzerland, yes. My family lived in Switzerland for a little while.
The hell?
Yep, and it's been a wild ride. They lived in Switzerland. I didn't live there with them. They moved right when I moved out to college, and they moved over there. My dad's job took him over there, and we were homeschooled all growing up because, again, we lived in a village, so it was not like there wasn't a lot of school opportunity out there.
You're probably better off that way.
Yeah, I mean, we got to go to college 2 years early, graduate 2 years early, and all that stuff. So, but yeah, so they lived over there, and then the band would head over there, and because we had a free place to stay with my parents, and we'd gig around there for a few months at a time and stuff. But in order to continue homeschooling my younger siblings, they had to be kind of reviewed, inspected by the Swiss government to make sure that they qualified as well, I think technically the term that they used was circus performers.
Oh, not chocolate makers.
Yeah, no, I was just circus performers. So yeah, that's somewhere in some official government record. That's my family's circus performers.
That's fucking random.
I know.
Not only did you leave, you left our mountains. You went to you decided to upgrade the mountains and go to some other mountains.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was a good time. That was a fun place.
So what primarily music was your family's?
So it started out, I think my dad kind of wanted us to, he only ever really listened to country music when we were real young. So like, I think that was kind of what his hope was, that we were going to be kind of a more country styled band. My brother and I found rock music and kind of decided to veer away from the country style pretty hard. So that band was pretty exclusively like hard rock into metal for a while. And then for like the residencies and stuff, we'd have to learn, several hours of covers. So that introduced a variety of stuff. We would do some country, a lot of like classic rock, and a lot of pop and R&B stuff. And so with that band, it's been all over the map. And, since that time, I've also been pretty heavily involved in a lot of other projects. Both I had a dubstep metal band for a while in the early 2010s. That was pretty fun. It was called Chug Chug Wob. And then like I've been involved in country cover bands and indie rock bands, and I've played with some hip hop artists and stuff, and some blues artists. So it's been all over the place for me.
So was your dad pissed off at you for being a disappointment after not sticking with the country?
I think no, it's fair. I think at first he was not his favorite stuff, but I think he kind of realized that we were finally getting passionate about it, and once that realization set in, he was pretty supportive of everything. And I mean, we're still playing together. We're recording another album. We're right in the middle of it right now. And that's doing like Christian worship music, this most recent album, which has been quite an experience. And yeah, so we kind of like go all over the map, and as of now, like we're all adults, and he supports it. So that's been a great experience. Like that band's been a lot of fun.
So
Yeah.
you're just well-rounded at everything.
Trying to be. That's the only way to make a living now.
So far, this has been very positive. So
Yep.
the point of the show is, what has been your horrible experiences and stories?
Sure,
about
yeah.
what you've ran into going from here to there with your family, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, so it's interesting. I don't know when this is going to air, but as of recording it, it just popped up in my Facebook memories. One of the, I guess, huge obstacles to our musical journey, or my musical journey specifically, it's the anniversary of and I don't think the organization's around anymore, but I'm going to play it safe. But we used to be involved in this Christian music competition that was based out of like the Twin Cities area of Minnesota, and it was like fairly large. There were a lot of the Christian music industry is, I don't know how much you guys know about it, but it's a real fascinating ecosystem, I guess we could say. And this particular event, we were involved with it for, I don't know, 3-4 years in a row or something like that. And it's weird because like at the time you're just a kid. I mean, when we were going through that stuff, it would have been between when I was like maybe 14 and then like 18, like somewhere in that window. But I just remember like thinking at the time, like, oh man, this is like the big shots, you do the typical thing that you'd see in like movies of like you play the battle of the bands and then you win it and then you get signed and then it's all finally going to start, going our way. And all of our experiences with that competition were such a mixed bag. It was, now, especially like looking back on it, I'm glad that we never kind of got anywhere with it. We almost did. The particular anniversary was of the night that we won and made it to the final round, only to be shot down by a band that essentially was Mumford and Sons, like the budget version of Mumford and Sons, which is just kind of how it goes. And yeah, when we were young, we didn't know all the inner workings. We didn't understand, like, especially like the judging didn't always make sense. Now you can kind of see through it. A lot of the stuff, they'd have like these scores for everybody, and there'd be, and I say this with unseen air quotes, but like industry leaders as the judges. And they'd give you all these comments, and you'd think, okay, well, these are the things I need to work on. If I do this, I'll get a better score next year or something. But the comments would oftentimes be completely contradictory. We were up there. I remember one year we were playing through like a Fender DeVille combo amp, and it was like a spendy, good quality tube amp. And one person gave us a really low score saying, get a real amp. And then the other person gave us a really high score saying, great high quality equipment that you're using. Like, and it would be the same night, same panel of judges. And then the next round you'd go in and get judged. And then it'd be like the opposite. Like, they'd be like, why don't you upgrade your amp? And then the other person would be like, that's actually not a bad amp. And it would be all this just completely, I don't know, non-music related.
I've never heard of something like that, even in the other kind of battle of the band style.
Right.
I've never heard of gear being part of the reason.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh dude. And like I said, 14 through 18, I don't know any better. I'm going, okay, well, these people definitely know what they're talking about. Like, I got to listen to them. And if we do what they say, like, we'll have a shot at this. And it kind of like, now looking back, I realize like, oh, I don't know if if the judging really mattered that much. If it was like, they're just looking for some way to like put forward the band that sounds like a current popular band so that they can make money kind of leeching off the parents and that don't let their kids listen to the secular artists, but oh, there's a Christian equivalent to that artist that they can listen to. And like nowadays you look at it and you go, okay, well that's clearly what's going on with that. Because like I said, like the last year, the year that this is kind of the anniversary of, it was we were like doing a real prog rock thing, and it was us, it was one other like kind of indie rock band, and then it was like a folksy, like an upbeat folksy Mumford and Sons band. And I won't name that band because I think they are still going. But yeah, I just remember thinking like we'd finally made it to the final round, and the judging was like real positive the last time. And I even remember like one of the judges coming up to us afterwards and saying that, oh yeah, that's a real like fresh marketable sound. You know, if you change a little bit of your songwriting approach and, you know, make it a little bit more hooky, like this could go pretty far. And then, yeah, we wound up in a round with Mumford and Sons and lost to them because I think the actual Mumford and Sons was doing pretty well for themselves around 2012. So,
and they're kind of hardcore about what they want out of you guys.
I mean, yeah, they're like, I didn't understand back then that it's the same as any other industry. It's just,
yeah,
they throw the Christian part on it so that, like I said, parents kind of feel better about what their kids are listening to.
So as you're talking about the subject matter, are you going to judge me because of my bad mouth? Because I'm realizing you might be religious, correct?
No. Okay. Yeah, no. Not
I make things slip. Oh, yeah, but I make things slip out. I also respect people, you know.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't still, but it does not bug me if other people do. It's gotten me in trouble that it doesn't bug me because for whatever reason, like I've always found it real funny. I don't know. Swear words are just funny to me, and
right on,
and so I'll get into a situation where someone's like screaming at me, and they'll say something that just catches me kind of funny, and I have to like always reassure people I'm not laughing at you. It was just like a funny sounding thing that you said, but that doesn't ever seem to like make fights go better. Usually if you laugh at the guy screaming at you, he just gets like much more angry, which then leads to a lot more swearing, which then leads to like a lot more laughing, and it's a vicious cycle.
This actually reminds me of a story how like I have a friend who she met a person and like I have a potty mouth, right? And I was just being myself, and then later on she was like, he was uncomfortable the way you're saying stuff, and I'm like, well, how do I know somebody's uncomfortable? They like, I feel like if somebody's uncomfortable and they don't want to say anything, they should just like start rubbing their knees and like moving and rocking back and forth. The universal sign of somebody's uncomfortable without saying it. I mean, I wish you would have done it. So now I do it anyway. And they're like, what's wrong with you? I'm feeling uncomfortable. I don't know. Remind me of all that.
That's
I try and keep conscious of what I say because I have a very bad mouth too, but I also do certain things to where I've got kids around and everything else. So
sure,
it is what it is. But no, if I know someone doesn't say it much, and I know other people listen to this and they probably get turned off by some of the things we say, but if the guest is on here dropping F-bombs left and right, I was like, okay, if they're going to do it, that just leaves it up for me to do it too, because
right.
But I respect anyone's thing. So if you don't say it, then I'll tone it down as well.
Oh, I don't worry about me. Right. I might chuckle a couple of times, so forgive me for that.
You've been chuckling the whole time. I feel positivity here. So
good.
What is aside from being, that competition, what else have you kind of encountered as far as like things that go amiss in your
Well,
gigs.
yeah. So a lot of it still has to do with like that scene, because when I was kind of like coming up in it, which would have been like mid 2000s into the 2010s. I just remember there being a huge scene in Minnesota of like Christian like rock and metal bands. And a lot of us would participate in this particular organization's like competitions and things like that. And just a lot of us would wind up playing like all the same shows. And I think everybody, when we all kind of saw through what was going on, that, oh, this is just like a big marketing ploy. Like that, it's a business, obviously. So they're trying to make money with their labels and stuff. But when we found that it was like a little disingenuous compared to what we were led to believe about it, there was kind of this massive split where, I mean, a lot of people, it kind of shook them up. They went off, kind of did their own thing, went off the deep end, the opposite direction. A lot of people, it kind of like, what would the term be? Well, just kind of made other people go even harder the way that they were going. There was this almost like implosion of the scene where, I mean, now like most of the bands that I played with, even up through the mid 2010s, either don't exist anymore or all hate each other. And it's just it was through that, and it's just sad to see. So there's the destruction of that scene that kind of sucked. And the destruction of a ton of relationships because of it. Other kind of sucky things, though, I mean, if you are a family band that's like traveling across the country and sometimes the world, your budget's never going to be that big. I mean, I'm a family of 7 kids, and everybody was involved. Everybody's got instruments and instrument repairs, everybody's eating, everybody's got to sleep somewhere. And so when things would go awry at a show, like, we were kind of always on teetering on the edge of catastrophic, career-ending disaster. Because I remember one show that we played up in like northern Minnesota for this little town festival. Just about every single technical problem went wrong. Like all of a sudden our keyboards stopped passing signal at all. I had 2 bass strings break, didn't have any spares. My brother's guitar headstock snapped off.
Was it Gibson?
It was a Gibson. Yes, it was a Flying
Lord.
V. Headstock snapped off at the show, and
Shout
then
out to Gibson.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that common?
I mean, it's common enough for there to be memes about it. So
I don't know much about Gibson, so
they have a bad design. And I play Gibson. Like, I play the same Les Paul that I've had since I was 13. I still play it today, but the angle on the headstock causes a lot of forward tension. So if you have any sort of impact on the front of the guitar, the strings just pull that headstock right off the thing. And that's what happened. But we got like electrocuted a bunch at that show to the point where I had like a burn on my upper lip from the microphones.
Stiff upper lip. Sorry.
Yep.
that is a
Just
real
like-
thing. I've been shocked plenty of times from
Oh
microphones.
yeah. And it's a summertime outdoor festival, so it's like 90 degrees. You're getting electrocuted. Every instrument's breaking.
Do you have like costumes? I picture like kind of like Amish with the women wear dresses and.
No,
Okay.
we don't have costumes. We've tried to convince. I mean, then that's another thing is like you'll have interpersonal conflict. We've tried to convince each other multiple times. It's like no one's ever all on the same page at the same time. But we've tried to convince each other, like, oh, we need to actually like make the show more of a spectacle. Like, we should probably have some sort of like thematic costuming or something. And we've had the talk, but with 7 people involved, it'll be like I'm all on board for it at one point, and then our other guitarist will be like, no, and then like our drummer will come back a few months later, and then at that point I'm kind of overdoing the costume thing. And So yeah, we have little conflicts like that, but
So windbreakers weren't in the budget.
no, they were not in the. I mean, instrument repair was rarely in the budget, and I remember like one particular tour that we were involved with, which was going across the U.S. A year beforehand. My brother's 7-string broke because we were kind of getting into some heavier stuff at that point.
Okay.
And it was one of the rare times where, okay, we can afford to fix this thing. And we're not probably the neatest people. And so he just left all the repair slip and invoice and all that stuff in his case. And so a year later, we're in Colorado, and we were going to be playing in Boulder, and then we were going to be playing in Colorado Springs. And I think Boulder, Colorado, the show dropped right when we got there. Like the venue contacted us and they were like, hey, we canceled the show. And this was in the middle of we were several weeks into gigging around and stuff for this tour. So they dropped the show, and I remember it was kind of like we were all taking the chance to be like, okay, well, maybe we'll do like a couple of rest days. And there was like a tour bus, and then it was our vehicle, which our vehicle that we would gig in was a 1996 F-350 with pulling a little trailer. So it would be, the 7 of us, maybe questionable legality on the seating arrangement.
Wow.
Driving across the country. And on that trip, I believe it was that tour, like on our way out to Indiana for the first leg of it, one of our wheels came off on the freeway. So it was already kind of like a little bit of a rough start. Like we got stranded in Indiana for a while.
Sorry to hear that. Thanks, Holcomb.
Yeah, it was it was a little bit of a bummer. Fortunately, we were able to get towed and get parts replaced, and the wheel was back on and the tour was back on. But yeah, at this point in Colorado, we'd lost a show, so we were like, okay, it's a rest day. And a bunch of the bands that were riding in the tour bus were like, well, we got to run errands today then, but we don't want to drive the bus all over the place. Can we go in your vehicle? And I was like, yeah, I'll drive. And some carting bands around, and we had just gotten rained out of the show that we had played the night before, an outdoor show. And so we kind of loaded everything back up into our truck and trailer real fast. And then maybe a little tired, maybe a little too lazy to unpack everything. And so we go hit a grocery store and a bank and, just run some errands, and then drive back to the place we were staying. And when we all got out of the truck, I took a look at the back end of the truck and realized the tailgate was open.
Oh.
And there wasn't anything in the back of the truck. And I ran inside to my brother, the guitarist, and I was like, hey, did we take everything out of the truck this morning? And I just remember he went completely white in the face.
Oh.
Because in the back of the truck that morning was my 5-string bass, which, all things considered, it was going to be okay because 3 of the other bands on the tour were playing 5 strings. And then his 7-string guitar, but no one else on the band was playing a 7. And all of the songs in our set that we were touring on required it. And his 7 was it was a nice guitar. He had saved up for a long time for it. It was a Music Man John Petrucci signature, and
those are expensive
in a metallic orange. It was a very unique guitar. And
oh man,
I remember he
got
just
stolen. Excuse me, it got stolen or fell out?
It fell out.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I remember he was just get in the truck, we got to go. And so I hop in the truck, and he's like, do you remember the exact route that you took?
Oh man.
And I was like, no, I don't know this town at all. So I'm just it's just him and me, and I'm just guessing, and I'm driving, we make a circuit to it was maybe, I don't know, maybe 12 miles round trip or something like that in this just unfamiliar place. One circuit, and didn't see anything. He's like, go out again, take different streets. We got to find something. And the second time we actually found my bass. which I could not believe.
Was on the side of the road.
It was in the middle of the road, is in a 45-mile-an-hour zone.
No, that's messed up.
I ran out and grabbed it and just threw it in the back. I didn't even look to see if it was okay, because at that point I was just sick to my stomach, concerned about his guitar.
Yeah.
And we drove another circle and didn't find it. And we went a third time and didn't find it. And yeah, I was like, I remember like we were waiting. We were stuck behind a train like for the last mile of the trip. We were stuck waiting for this train to cross. And I just remember going, it's got to be behind this train. Like that, maybe it's going to be one of these like, storybook moments where on the last trip, like the train crossed and there it was, And I remember like just convincing my brother, like, hey, we got to like, I don't know, we got to like pray or sing some worship songs or something. Like we got to convince God that we're like worthy of getting this guitar back.
Yeah.
And so we're just sitting and waiting for this train, just praying and singing and just hoping. Train goes by, nothing. And he was like, let's just go one more time and load everybody up so that we can have all eyes looking. And we load everybody up. And the last time that we go out, the last time he got a phone call from a phone number he didn't recognize. And he picks up and he's like, hey, and we didn't hear the other end. He was like, hey, we got to go to this address. He punches an address into our GPS and we go. And it was this lady's house. And she said she was putting her kid down for a nap and heard a bang outside of her house and ran out to the front door and saw a black case just laying in the road and a big white truck driving off. And then she said that another car pulled up and someone got out of the car and started walking over to the case, and she started screaming at him and said the person got back in their car, drove off, and she went out and grabbed the case and opened it up. There's a guitar in there, and she was like, I don't know how in the world I'm going to find the owner of this. And she happened to find like that old repair slip from over a year ago that had his name and phone number on it. And so we got the guitar back. I think we gave her like all the merch that we had left. We were like so grateful, but we were always kind of teetering on the edge of not being able to continue the journey. Like we were always playing with no backups.
I always thought like when you said you got a phone call, I thought it was like, hello, it's Jesus. And then when you meet him, it's John Petrucci holding your brother's guitar. Like, oh
man. I mean, at this point it could happen. Who knows? But
that'd been hilarious.
Yeah, that was kind of how we've always.
Yeah, so basically you got like, because like you said, you're always like on a rush to do everything, and you have some strange seating arrangements. So you guys are always in a hurry to get to the next town. You don't have like a road crew because you technically are the road crew.
Oh yeah. Yep. Everybody sets up, tears down, works the merch table, books the shows. Like everybody's working all the time. So like tour, at least for us, even in Europe, like it's never been a glamorous thing. When we went to Europe the first time, we'd hired a promoter. We were like, okay, we finally have some budget saved up. Like, let's do this thing right. Let's get a European promoter, get him to book us some shows, and then we'll go over there and we'll play for a couple of months. And the day before we left, we found out the promoter had kind of skipped town.
Oh my God.
Took all the money and hadn't contacted any venues for the like couple of months leading up to it. And I think it was like several $1,000s that we'd paid him. And we never heard from him again.
What country was he from? I know I'm not trying to like,
Oh, he was a Swiss. He was either a Swiss or a German promoter.
I'm going to take their mind. I don't know. I guess I just wondered, like, I know, like, well, I guess I don't know like everything about Europe. I mean, I just assume that they might have their stuff together because some of their government support music. But I guess like, there could be shady people.
Oh,
everywhere,
dude.
Obviously.
Dude. I mean, so Switzerland was like the main place that we would stay because of course that's where my parents were. And so that was like where most of the experience was. And they have like a pretty low crime rate in the country because they punish for the crimes. Like they punish pretty severely for a lot of stuff. So if you're not from there and you commit a crime, I think pretty much anything, they'll just straight up deport you, never let you back.
Oh damn, no more chocolate for
Um,
you.
Yeah, exactly.
I do have
But-
a question.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have answered this earlier, and maybe I just went completely stupid and just forgot. But
No.
what took your parents to Switzerland?
Yeah, good question. So my dad used to work for a company that is still in business. He used to work for like a company that had to do with like publishing. But like, I'm trying to think of a way to say it without saying anything that would give the company away. It was a pretty serious. It was a publisher of some very serious materials, we'll say.
He makes
And-
watches.
Yeah, I wish. Oh my goodness, I wish. But so his job moved a lot of the like, my understanding of it is they moved a lot of their like senior staff over there because their headquarters was over there. And they'd moved them over there. It was like mandatory that you had to spend like 5-6 years over there. And then when they came back, they would basically like axe them. Which I don't think he knew about the axing part until near the end of his time over there when all of his buddies were starting to lose their jobs.
Very vicious cycle.
Yeah, very
Right.
vicious cycle. I mean, like, we're in a better place now, but I'm still a little sore at what they did. It doesn't seem strictly legal to me that you'd be able to just like let go of all of your senior staff, because it was all the senior staff. It was all the older people that were working there, which is a bummer. But anyway, so he had to move over there for his job. And at that time, a lot of my siblings were still, too young to be living on their own. So they all lived over there too. And it was just my older brother and I that didn't get to go live in Europe.
Wow.
Yep. But yeah, so that like promoter guy just kind of ditched. And we spent the first 2 weeks, because we'd already booked like flights and everything. We'd already shipped instruments over there.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so we were like, well, we got to do something. And yeah, I remember we spent the first 2 weeks like frantically trying to book shows. And the problem is, in Switzerland, if you did not book it a year in advance, they're like, yeah, we're already booked up. I mean, it's a tiny country, so there's not that many venues, I suppose, but like you got to book things like pretty far in advance. So we're just cold calling places. And I mean, we were literally walking and riding trains with our instruments and stuff. I mean, I was lugging a bass and guitar and a keyboard and, some like basically skeleton drum kit. Just showing up at venues and going, hey, we got our stuff here. We can audition. Like we can show you what we play and stuff, and just getting turned down left and right for 2 weeks straight.
Damn you, Swiss Miss.
It was a little bit of a rough time. I mean, there's most of like, I've been playing for 20 years because I started when I was 10, and then like gigging on a professional level for 17 of those years. And most of it, like the grand majority of it, is let down. And I'm not trying to sound like pessimistic or anything, but like
No.
it's mostly rejection. It's not winning competitions. It's losing shows because a sketchy promoter like ran off with your money. It's fighting with if not your siblings, because I mean we're siblings, so we have our disagreements. But if not with your siblings, like with the other bandmates in your band that isn't like bound to you by blood. And so we were just kind of sick of wandering around. So we decided, hey, well, let's take like a tourist day. And at that time we had a buddy who was like acting as our manager, who I've accidentally like caused his girlfriends to dump him multiple times. And he's my friend, I swear, but like we would get into spats and stuff. And And like one of the times that I accidentally got his girlfriend to dump him, it was like completely meaningless. Like we had recorded an album, we had put a final track on the end of it because there was, time and budget for one more song, and I had just an extra throwaway tune. So did this little acoustic song, and then we named it after him, not thinking about it. We were like, let's just name it after David. And he was going to college with me, and his girlfriend was also going to college, same place. And our album came out, and she listened to it and heard the last song, which was a song about like trying to decide between, do I pursue like what I feel my dreams are, my career, or do I kind of throw it away and settle for a relationship? And
was the song called Tina's a Battle Axe?
no, the song was called 256 David, as as an inside joke with him, as a throwaway title. And it turned out that was exactly what the two of them were going through, and I had no idea. And the song was named after him, and she was like, I can't believe that you would tell them all of that stuff, and she dumped him right on the spot.
You should have said, I can't believe you listened to that. Thank you.
I know.
Gotta listen.
It was a conflicted feeling. But yeah, so he and I were fighting a little bit at a train station on our tourist day. In Europe, yeah. And he was very much like a hug it out type of guy. And at that time, I was very much a do not touch me type of guy. And so he was like trying to force a hug on me, and I was just being physically unresponsive. And some woman ran over, thought that I was like having some sort of medical emergency. And so she ran over yelling, trying to see if we were okay. And we were like, you have an American accent. She was like, you guys have an American accent. And we got to talk, and we were going on the same leg of the trip, the same direction. And so she's sitting with us on the train, and we're telling her about the band and all the weird, situation with the promoter and all that stuff. And she was like, well, hey, I go to this church, and I know the pastor. You could probably talk to him. I'll give you his cell phone number, like his personal cell phone number. And I was like, okay. And so she gave us that. We never saw her again. Her name was Dawn. And so the next day we called the number, and they agreed to like have a sit down with us. And so we lugged all of our stuff from Zug to Zurich, and got to that church, and the secretary was like, you guys can sit up in the library and wait. And we sit up in the library, and there's a little bulletin board up there, and on the bulletin board was a picture of a man who had lived with my family when I was 3 years old. And we were like, you know Troy? And they were like, you know Troy? And it turned out that he had done like seminary there or something. So we wound up hitting it off with him, and that led to us finally having places to play. But
shout out to Don, or is that her name?
Yeah, Don. Yeah. And they said, like, we asked them about her, and they were like, yeah, I don't think there's anybody named Don in our congregation. And for the next 5 or 6 years, we did a lot of shows like with them. And
do you think it was like what they say, a guardian angel
intervention?
I have, to this day, I have no idea. It would have to be something like that. Maybe it's something completely like benign, but who knows? But like, that's kind of how my whole career has operated by the skin of my teeth, essentially, where it looks like everything's going to go horrible, and then just one little thing comes through at the end. So for anybody that might be listening to this, considering a career in music, just know it's not a stress-free time.
No, especially when like some people have the misconception that like playing Christian music, they got a unlimited amount of funds, but
very limited.
You got the struggle berry on this one.
Yeah.
Well, I do have some questions regarding this, because I'm not a knowledgeable person when it comes to religious music or anything like that. It's not really anything that I've been involved in. I know our scene back that I used to play in, there's a lot of Christian like metalcore bands and stuff like that. So, and I actually liked a lot of those bands, and I was actually friends with some of those bands. But I honestly don't believe 99% of those bands were really Christian bands. I think they just used that because that was popular at the time. But
Hey, that was my question for him too. Oh, yeah,
that's
keep going.
another that's another topic for.
Yeah.
But how did you guys only strictly play like church venue type things, or how did that work?
Oh no, we played anywhere that would take us. So like we did a lot of bar shows. We played like we did play a ton of churches. And over there, like I got to play an acoustic set at a church that the interior was unchanged from when Martin Luther was preaching there. Like, so real old places.
The real
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
shit.
that. Yeah, it was crazy stuff like that. But bars, clubs, like we played a lot of like nightclubs and some mid-sized venues. And I've certainly played. I mean, we all do different projects too. So like my younger brother spent like I think a few months with like it's hard to explain, but like a touring busking group where they would like ride around on a cart through London and play like acoustic music in a cart.
What kind
And
of
so
cart? What kind of cart? Like a fruit stand, or I'm trying to picture
it
this.
was like, it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like it was like the smallest truck you could imagine.
Oh, with a bed on it.
Yeah, with like a real tiny bed on it.
Man,
So everybody's like, elbow to elbow playing stuff. Like, so and
Huh.
with so it's been kind of all sorts of venues, and we play anywhere that'll take us. And we played like we played some government gigs, which is real weird. We played some corporate gigs. It just depends. And our set list too. I mean, that we've all been playing for the same amount of time, so our set list changes to kind of fit the vibe of the venue, so to speak.
Actually, this brings up another thing that I talked about on other episodes. How like when Brandon was mentioning the scene, a lot of the metal bands used to play the churches because they seemed that they let them in. And I always had this theory that maybe that's how they were trying to get them to go to the congregation. And if it didn't work, they disbanded, or they became these huge like Christian metal band, or let's say big metal bands under like with the Christian lining. I'm trying to think of, do you think that backfired on the church, or that's just by coincidence?
I mean,
from your opinion of it, because you're Christian, right? Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, well, I grew up listening to a ton of the huge Christian metal bands too. I mean, that was like Under Oath was like my bread and butter,
right.
For a real long time, and I remember like even anything vaguely, because I would scour lyrics. Like I'd read lyric books back when there were CDs and stuff. I'd read lyric books cover to cover, and anything vaguely Christian, I'd be like, oh yes, that means I can listen to that. Like I have a lot of, I don't know, theological reasons to potentially believe that a lot of them weren't Christian to begin with. I think there was a lot of advantage being taken not only by the bands, but also of the bands. Because like I said, at least the corporate Christian music industry experiences that I had, I realized pretty quickly, like, oh, this is just a money-making venture. Like there's not like a heart behind it, if that makes sense.
No, it's a good answer, actually.
And so, yeah, for a lot of those bands, like I'm sure that some of them started out that way and probably experienced some pretty sketchy stuff done by like the labels and the producers and whoever, the promoters and managers, and probably were driven away by that. And I do think it was pretty easy for a while there in the 2000s to get big being a Christian metal band, because like the dubstep metal band I was in was a Christian dubstep metal band, and I still know all the guys, and like everybody is friends. And the reason it broke up was that people started having families and stuff. couldn't be gigging every single night. But like it was such a quick rise for that band and that, I mean, that's in no small part, I think, to the fact that like, oh, it's the Christian metal thing. These guys have a message, and it's going to be like a real positive experience. But when it's a shallow message, when it's based on, well, this is the way to get famous, and then once we have crossover appeal, then we'll say, oh, well, we never actually said that we were a Christian band. We said that we were a band of Christian guys, but the music
You
is
were
different.
Christians in a band.
Exactly. Yep.
That's
that
the
happened.
old As I Lay Dying thing.
Exactly.
That
Yeah,
As I Lay
well-
Dying was considered a Christian band, and they said, well, we're not Christian, we're just Christians in a band. Then Tim Lambesis goes and tries to have his wife murdered.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and there's so many stories of bands that aren't maybe as extreme as Tim Lambesis hiring a hitman to kill his wife.
Hey, he was doing it for the kids. Come on, that's all for the kids.
Roid
Sure.
Rage does some mean things, but
I just didn't know, like, I mean, not to be funny about it, but I didn't
Oh,
think
yeah.
they get paid enough to have that kind of money in a bag. But whatever.
I mean, who knows? I don't. I know
was
that
it,
I
like
certainly don't
12
get paid
grand or
enough to.
something.
Was it
It's-
12? I thought it was like 30.
I thought it was like 12 grand that he gave the guy at the gym. I was like, first of all, 12 grand to be a hitman hit. I was like, that seems kind of low, in my opinion. But what do I know?
Yeah, it could be kind of low, but yeah, I guess I would say, like, I think that certainly, like, any church that I've been a part of is real specific about vetting artists if they're going to have anybody come in special. And so I know, like, I was part of a church that had Skillet come play, and that was super fun. And Skillet seems to still be doing their thing, though it's not maybe my favorite kind of music. But I don't know about the individual churches per se, but I certainly know that it's probably a mixture of taking advantage of the faith, which seems icky to me, to boost your career when that's the popular thing, and also certainly getting taken advantage of by the sketchy people running the show.
Mm.
Do you guys ever give testimony during the show? Now, the reason I ask is because
Sure.
I actually brought this up on a different episode, and I'm sure we'll talk about it on future episodes. 'Cause I know there's some guys coming up that were actually in these Christian metalcore bands that are no longer involved with this stuff. But one particular band around here would always do almost like a sermon. They'd take up like 15 to 20 minutes
Oh yeah.
in the middle of the set, and there's still bands playing. It used to make everyone so mad because we had a time limit, and they would take up a huge, almost enough time for another band to play because they were basically preaching to everyone. And I don't care if that's what they want to do, but don't do it during the middle of the show. Like, have
Sure.
them come talk to you.
Yeah,
Like, you make a few, like, hey, come talk. This is why we do this. Come talk to us over here and talk more about it. But when you take up the entire show, like for 15 to 20 minutes, that hurts the other bands.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so we would certainly, like, share testimony and things like that. I mean, give a little message. There were certainly, like, horrendous personal things that, even though we all grew up together, like, there were horrendous individual personal things that we would all go through. And so one of our rules was that no matter what, we would always be the band that eats it, as far as, like, if one of the other bands went long, in order to keep the show going, we'd cut songs out of our set list. Or if, we were feeling led, I mean, we're not to break it down into a bunch of deep theology stuff, but, like, we're, spirit-led Christians. And so if we were feeling led to sacrifice some songs from the set list in order to talk about something, like, we would do that. And we would do it at the drop of a hat. And even still, I think we haven't had too many shows since the Beast, but even still, if we had one, we're always happy to eat it. And that was a principle that our dad taught us working back at the place that he used to work, was that he ran his team at work on the principle that no matter what happened during the workday, if something negative was occurring, if some boss was yelling at somebody, they were going to eat it. They were going to be the ones where it stopped there. Like they just take it, you don't continue on the cycle. And so we kind of took that for the set list times, like, and so because of that, you know, we'd be playing a show, you get a 25-minute set, and the other band would go super long doing whatever they were going to do. And we might play one song and then talk. We might play 3 songs and not talk at all. It just depended. But I did know that like every time, especially when my brother would talk about some of the stuff that he went through, which is his own story to tell, every time we'd have somebody after the show come up and spend a couple hours chatting with us and telling us about the things that they'd gone through and stuff. And, you know, we always tried to keep up with every single individual that ever felt some sort of connection with the band. So if some fan messaged us on social media, like we would have a full-on conversation with them. We'd hang out if we were in town, like that sort of thing. So we were always trying to be like as authentic as possible. And I think that got solidified when we started to see a lot of the bands that we looked up to kind of fall away from all of that stuff. It was discouraging at first, but then it was kind of it lit a fire under us to be like, you know what? We need to really be careful not to be taking advantage ever. Like we got to make sure that we're honest about this stuff, and that if, you know, even if we're going through a struggle, like we got to be resolute to make it out to the other side.
Stay true to yourselves and true to your message. I respect that.
Yep.
Right. So when you weren't on tour, like your little family tours, what did you do when you were at home? Like, I mean, obviously, like, I'm sure you didn't make enough on the road because you're splitting it with like your whole family and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So what did you do on your off time at home?
Sure. Well, I did, and my brothers did, and actually my sisters did hard manual labor outside in the cornfields and strawberry fields a lot of the time. And we grew up on a farm, so we did farm work. And then when it came to college, I mean, it was studying 100% of the time. I decided to go for a music degree because I kind of wanted to understand what it was that I was doing every day. So we would gig every single weekend too. So like my brother and I went to the same school, and we would hire different people to like come in or like have friends that were musicians come in and fill in the roles of the siblings that were out of country. And we would drive up to the Twin Cities, a couple hours north, to play shows on the weekends, and then drive to Rochester, play at our church in Rochester, and then drive back to Winona an hour and play at our church in Winona that night, and then study for the week. And now it's I teach private music lessons full time. So I play guitar all day, every day. Well, and banjo and mandolin and, you know, you name it. But I play instruments all day, play music all day, teach people. I up until very recently, like directed student ensembles that would then gig around the area. Instead of doing recitals at our lesson studio, we have students like actually play real shows, and then play with country bands, play with different artists around Southeast Minnesota, and make ends meet that way.
So the movie School of Rock is about you, is what you're saying.
I do teach it at a place that's very similar to that.
Are you gonna basically do how it was in the movie? He was just trying to, because he was in a band and it didn't work so well, you're trying to ensemble the ultimate band to get back at all these people?
No, I actually, despite how stressful my whole life of music has been, I do have fun doing it still. And so I try never to be on the stage with the students if I can help it when they're playing. I like to be behind the scenes, very much so. So yeah, we put them together, we rehearse with them and stuff. I'll fill in on bass if there's always a shortage of bassists, unfortunately. No kid ever goes, "Mom, can I have a bass for Christmas?" Like, It's sad. They could make so much money if they only
I know.
knew.
Shout out to all those young kids listening. Please be a bassist.
Be a
We need you.
bassist,
Be a
yes.
bassist.
Or a
But
drummer.
yeah,
Or
or a drummer, yes. Oh my goodness, yes. Bassists
Rhythm-
and drummers.
Nobody likes the
please.
rhythm anymore. That's the problem here.
It is a problem.
Rhythm is the foundation.
But yeah, so I do that full time, and then gig on weekends, and I also do like I do composition. So I done collaborations with, like, I did a cool collaboration with a visual artist last summer, and wrote original pieces for her paintings, and she used them in a showing and got paid for it. That was pretty sweet. And I do like
Did you get paid though?
oh no, I got paid for it. Yeah, it was great.
Okay, I was just
Yep.
I was making sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I do like jingles and stuff for businesses. And
Okay.
yeah, so it's been pretty fun. I've been putting together like podcast intro music for some friends and local like podcasters and stuff.
Nice.
And I do get paid, and I do session work too. So
Yes.
it's great,
So,
but it's a lot.
so if dad called you, be like, son, we're getting the band back together. Would you do it?
Oh, we're still together.
Oh, so you tour still, like the whole like family thing?
Yep, the family. So right now,
Okay, I thought you didn't. Okay.
No, my sister, it's been a couple of years since our last gig, just because,
The Beast.
Yep, the beast.
Okay, you did say that. Okay.
Yep. Right now, my sister's husband is finishing up his commercial pilot's license, so that we will have an
Iron
easier-
Maiden's good. You're gonna get your own plane, aren't you?
We're probably nothing luxurious, but it's the long-term plan is still the family band, and everybody works towards it still. And my other sister married an auto mechanic, which is great, because if we have breakdowns, like, he can
Mhm.
help. And my wife's a musician. She's awesome. And my youngest brother is in computer programming, so he and I are trying to get a little guitar pedal company launched.
Oh,
So we're just trying. We're doing everything that we can to still
And-
make things work.
any of your siblings like a chef? Because you're gonna need to eat on the road too.
I mean, everybody's actually like pretty handy cooking.
Okay.
We kind of all learned how to do that on the road. So
Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Huh? Wow.
We've talked about the band, but I don't remember if you've actually said what the band's name is.
I have not.
Allowed to.
No, I can.
Okay.
We're called.
That's up
We're
to him.
called. Yeah, we're called Breakthrough. That was our name when we started the band. We knew we still know him, an artist by the name of Fred Sommers, who's like a nationally well-respected artist and painter. And he had a painting, and it was called Breakthrough. And a family loved it so much that, and we support the arts, so bought it from him and named the band after it. And
Man.
Yeah.
I was hoping to be Partridge Hunters, something like that. I don't know.
that would have been great, but no, it's just Breakthrough. But yeah, we still work on it. We've had to deal with trademark disputes on the name and stuff. And
Wasn't there a breakdancing movie called that?
oh, there could be, but I know there was a band for a while. We've had it trademarked since 2002 or 3.
Oh wow.
Our
Going on
dad.
what? You're going on 20 years with that name.
Yep, indeed. Dad has a background in law, and so when we settled on a name, I mean, it was a very handy resource to have. Where he was like, "You guys should probably trademark that, just so that you don't wind up going for 10 years and then some other band with the same name drives you away from being able to use yours." So
We should probably trademark this podcast.
not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all.
I don't even know how you would even go about doing something like that. I've never really
ask his
looked into
dad.
it.
They got a lawyer too.
It's not as hard as you would think. It's kind of expensive, but because you have to pay for it every year and stuff. But you
Not
just
an every year payment thing.
yeah, it's a yearly payment thing, and that's just so that if you're not like they also want to prevent people from like grabbing it and then just never using it.
Yeah.
So, and that's fair, I think. But
I also
Yeah,
just
we-
realized last night, just looking into it, you have to pay now to be blue checked on either Facebook or Instagram. If you're trying to be official, they make you pay like $15 a month, which I think
oh
is
yeah,
stupid.
it's silly. Well, we had a few thousand fans on our Facebook and then got our account deactivated, and we never figured out why. Like, we don't ever post controversial stuff. We kind of stay out of the
Were you adding a bunch of people, or
No,
Too
I
many?
mean it was not
Mm.
not too many for sure. I mean, we had maybe like, I don't know, somewhere between probably 3,000 and 4,000 if I remember. And it was like fans that we would build up one at a time. Like, we'd play a city, one person would follow, like that sort of thing. And so like we to this day still can't figure out why. I remember like the day it happened, we were all panicking, and like we had just a ton of stuff up and up on like our Facebook account, and lost a bunch of old videos and
Oh man,
recordings and stuff, and it happens. But
Zuckerberg, if you're listening, this whole family's going after you.
we gave up on the whole Facebook meta thing. It's kind of on its way out anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of a waste of time, but sadly, that's all we typically use because you got that and Instagram. But I think nowadays you got TikTok and everything else. But
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm old. I'm almost 40, and I don't want to get into TikTok or Snapchat or any of that stuff.
He just doesn't want to do the dances. You got to dance on there.
Yeah, you do have to dance on there. I think that's fair. I was on it for a little bit in 2020, and then I got off it pretty quick.
I just don't think anyone wants to really see me up there shaking my groove thing or whatever.
You never know nowadays. You never
Right.
know.
Yeah, nowadays you never know, but I think it might be a moneymaker, not because they want to see it. They're just paying me to stop.
I suppose it's like a weird ransom situation.
Yep. Watch me. Watch. We'll see. All I can think of is that Stewie guy. Look what I can do, and they get like 1 million followers, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, Drew, it's been great talking with you, but before we sign off for the night, what we typically do is ask if our guest would like to have a song featured at the end of this interview. So is there anything that you would like to feature as a song? And if so, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming that would be something that we send you, right?
Yeah, you just have to send me whatever
Okay.
song you
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we can do that. Sure. I know exactly which one to do too. So a little bit about the song then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a song. It's called Postage. It's off of our 2018 EP called The Path, which was a real fun thing to put together. Everybody in the band likes different stuff. And so we decided, hey, let's do an EP that kind of covers everything that we like. So it's got some like prog rock on it. It's got some metal on it. It's got some like Django Reinhardt style hot jazz on it.
Nice.
It's got some R&B, and it's got some indie rock stuff. And the particular song was one that my sister Catherine, our lead singer, wrote. Went through so many renditions, and it took probably a good 2 years for us to settle on the right thing. And yeah, it was kind of our, I guess from my perspective, from all of the writing sessions that we had, it was kind of our take on Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a lot of fun. And it features my wife on trumpet and local musician John Sievers on trombone.
Nice. You
Yep.
just got it.
Yeah.
You just got it all.
Yeah, we try. We
I see
like
that.
everything, so we try to have a little bit of something for everybody.
You're like the friendly or less annoying Jack Black, in my opinion.
I would love to meet that guy still. I rewatched School of Rock all the. I remember.
I feel like
during
you could sue him for that movie. Like, that's my life. How dare you?
no, I remember during the Year of the Beast.
Yes.
there was a period where all of the lessons stopped, and fortunately, the owner of the studio that I work at was quick on his feet, and so he's like, "Hey, we're pivoting to like video lessons." And so for several months straight, I was pre-recording 30-minute video lessons I was teaching 70 students a week at the time.
Wow.
And so I was recording video and audio, editing it together, uploading it. I would start working at like 7 in the morning and would get done at around 1 in the morning every single day, 7 days a week for about 3 or 4 months. And I remember there was like one moment where I could finally take a break, and I watched School of Rock, and I cried when the students played the show at the end, because I was like, I remember when I got to watch our students perform. I just wept to myself for, a good 20 minutes. It's cathartic.
It was not a good time, but like basically you're one of the unsung heroes that kept it together, regardless of the situation. And
I'd be hesitant to call myself a hero. I was just doing music, but
you kept people, you still did your thing and kept those people staying at home instead of, being down in the dumps. Again, this show's about negativity, but then
sure,
there's, you've taught us that there's positive things going on, just like what your story,
Well, I appreciate it.
That example of you just working really hard to get them students to learn their stuff, because, at the end of the day, we're all musicians and we don't want to quit doing music, and we want the next generation to keep it going.
Exactly.
Not downhill. Yeah.
Especially a next generation of bassists and drummers.
Yeah.
Yes. You hear that, kids? If you're out there listening, which you probably shouldn't have listened to this podcast, but if you did, play the bass, play the drums.
Yes, right. Please. You'll make money.
You probably will, because you'll always have unlimited gigs.
I play bass in like 5 bands. You'll make money.
How many bands are you in again? Maybe you don't have to list, because you said you did a lot of other side work, but like, how many official bands do you have?
I got Breakthrough. I play with a band called Alsfona, which is a super fun. The singer of that band is so stinking good, and ALSFONA, if anyone's curious to look them up. And it's like kind of a less 90s style Incubus with catchier songs, I would say. And then there's a country band that I'm in called County Line Drive. That's been real fun. We've opened for like Cassidy Pope and the Walmart yodeling kid and all sorts of people. And then I play.
Not the dancing guy.
There's a lot of dancing guys, man.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then I play with an artist named Debbie Anthony, who's a like country singer songwriter person. She's great, and so it's like 4 official and soon to be potentially 5 official, because the guys from the old dubstep metal band want to start a new project. So here's hoping.
Nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Drew, it's been a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for having me on.
We don't typically find out too much information about who we interview, so we never really know what to expect. So that's kind of how we prefer to go into things.
I respect it.
And well, strictly speaking, we're not complete metal podcast at all. This ain't not what it's all about, because obviously your story, you're in different genres, and that's actually good to hear, like another side of something that isn't like metal related.
Yeah, because a lot of the people we've interviewed and have interviewed or whatever coming up, they've been involved in metal bands, and we're trying to branch out to not just focus on metal. We want everyone out there to be able to be included, because it's not always just bad in metal. It's got some bad stuff in every genre.
Oh yeah, I know that. Well, cool. Thanks for having me on, guys. It's been fun.
Yes,
yeah, definitely. Thank you. And that's going to do it tonight. So again, thanks, Drew. And if anyone out there listening would like to be on a future episode, you can just send an email to brandon@darksideofthescene.com, and we will get you scheduled on a future episode. Good night, guys. Thank you.
it's dead now. I used to wait at the door somehow, but you moved out, and postage is a $20 bill. Send the letters I'm holding on to still, across the ocean and above the hills to get to you. If I pretend you're here, would it hold me? If I pretend you're home, will I still be lonely? Oh, this empty house feels strange, like it's not mine. Staring at the calendar and counting time till you come back. Several months since anyone has seen a smile. It's not an act, and postage is a $20 bill to send the letters I haven't written still, across the ocean and above the hills to get to you. If I pretend you're here, would it hold me? If I pretend you're home, would I still be lonely? Oh, this empty house feels strange, like it's not mine. But I don't need you here, maybe this is good for me. Don't need you home, I'm probably meant to be alone. This empty shell feels great from the inside, but I'll be fine, I'll be fine. Said I'll be fine, I said I'm fine. I've come to the conclusion, in isolation there's a lesson. The sense of empty is illusion. To feel alone is to forget him.